There is a specific kind of person you keep finding yourself drawn to. You cannot fully explain it. They are exciting in a way that feels almost electrical. And somewhere in the back of your mind, behind the excitement, behind the pull, there is a voice saying, "This is not going to end well." You stay anyway. And afterward, when it falls apart the way you half knew it would, you sit with the wreckage and ask yourself the same question everyone asks themselves in that moment. What is wrong with me? Why do I keep doing this? Why, when someone genuinely good comes along, does it feel boring by comparison? Why does the person who is clearly not right for you feel more like home than anyone who ever treated you well? The answer is not what you think. It is not low self-worth, though, that is the first thing people say. It is not self-sabotage, though that gets thrown around too. The real answer goes much deeper than either of those, down into the actual wiring of the brain, the biology of bonding, and a mechanism so old it predates language itself. And once you understand it, you will not just understand your own patterns. You will understand why breaking them requires something completely different from what everyone tells you. This is called the Asymmetry Bond, and it is running in the background of more people's love lives than almost any other psychological force on Earth. Here is the first thing you need to know. Your brain did not evolve to seek happiness in relationships. That is uncomfortable to sit with, but it is true. Your brain evolved to seek certainty, or more precisely, to find patterns that reduce uncertainty. Early in human history, the ability to read unpredictable people and environments was not a soft skill. It was survival. The brain that could decode an inconsistent, sometimes threatening person was the brain that lived. And that brain got passed down. What this means for you, right now in your adult life, is that inconsistency does not read as danger. Not at first, it reads as a problem to solve. And your brain, wired across hundreds of thousands of years, is extraordinarily motivated by unsolved problems. The person who is warm one day and cold the next is not just confusing. They are neurologically activating. There is a mechanism in the brain called the dopamine reward system. And here's the part that almost nobody talks about. It fires more powerfully on intermittent reward than on consistent reward. This was demonstrated with startling clarity in research out of University College London, where neuroscientists measured dopamine release patterns and found that uncertain rewards produced significantly stronger and longer-lasting motivation than guaranteed ones. The unpredictable slot machine beats the guaranteed payout. Not because we are stupid, but because the brain assigns higher value to things that require effort to obtain. Things that come easily register as less important. Things that require decoding, waiting, and emotional labor register as significant. This is not a character flaw. It is a design feature, one that was never meant to be applied to romantic love. And yet, here we are. But there is a second layer to this, and it is the one that explains why certain people specifically are the ones who trigger this response. Not everyone feels magnetic in this particular way. The pull you feel towards someone who is bad for you is not random. It is calibrated. It is calibrated to a signature you already know. Think about the first relationships you watched as a child. Not necessarily romantic ones, just the closest, most formative connections around you. In those relationships, you learned what love felt like, not what love was supposed to look like ideally. What it actually felt like in your nervous system, in your body. If the love you experienced was consistent, warm, and reliably available, your baseline for closeness is stability. You seek stability. Consistency feels like safety. But if the love you experienced was inconsistent, sometimes warm, sometimes withdrawn, sometimes present, sometimes somewhere else entirely, then your nervous system learned something different. It learned that love has an unpredictable quality, that closeness arrives and disappears, that you have to earn it, watch for it, work to keep it. Your nervous system did not decide this was bad. It decided this was normal. And normal is what the brain reaches for. This is what makes the asymmetry bond so difficult to simply decide your way out of. You are not choosing the person who is bad for you because you want to suffer. You are choosing them because they feel like a known quantity in an emotional language you have spoken your whole life. The person who is consistently kind and available often feels strange. Not bad, just unfamiliar. And the brain, when it encounters the unfamiliar, generates a low-level anxiety that it will sometimes misread as disinterest. You think you are not attracted to them. What you are actually experiencing is the absence of the dysregulation your nervous system has come to associate with love. And there is still one more piece of this, the one most people never get to, because it is the piece that explains why even when you know all of this, the pull still does not go away overnight. When you are bonded to someone through the asymmetry bond, through inconsistency, through cycles of distance and closeness, through the effort of constantly trying to decode them, the bond itself becomes neurologically reinforced in a way that stable relationships simply are not. Because every time they came back, every time the warmth returned after the cold, your brain released a hit of reward so powerful that it essentially carved a groove. And grooves do not just disappear when you understand where they came from. This is not weakness. This is exactly how trauma bonding works. And that term sounds clinical and heavy, but it applies more broadly than most people realize. You do not need a dramatic history for your nervous system to have formed associations that now act like shortcuts. The brain is always looking for efficiency. It learns fast. It does not always learn the right things. Picture a woman in her early 30s. She is perceptive, emotionally intelligent, professionally accomplished. She has ended 2 long-term relationships in the past 5 years, both times with men who were, by any honest measure, good people. Kind, present, reliably there. She described both endings the same way. I just felt nothing, like something was missing. 6 months after the second one ends, she meets someone at a work event. He is sharp, a little unpredictable, interested one week and distracted the next. She finds herself checking her phone constantly. She overthinks every message. She feels alive in a way she had not in years. She cannot explain it. She just knows the feeling is enormous. What she is experiencing is not chemistry. It is recognition. Her nervous system is not telling her this is love. It is telling her this is familiar. The pattern of that relationship matches the pattern that was wired in earliest. The effort required matches the effort she learned to associate with being close to someone. Her brain is not malfunctioning. It is doing exactly what it was trained to do. When she eventually understands this, when she sees the groove for what it is, something shifts. Not all at once, not in a single revelation, but the spell begins to loosen. Because once you can see the mechanism, you are no longer inside it without knowing. You become, slowly, the observer of the pattern, rather than just its passenger. That is where the real work begins. Understanding the asymmetry bond does not mean you stop feeling pulled. It means you start to recognize the pull for what it is. A signal from your past, not a prophecy about your future. The person who activates this system is not special because they are the right one. They are activating it because they are familiar. Those are not the same thing. They never were. What changes when you carry this framework into your life is not that you suddenly stop being attracted to the wrong people. What changes is the gap, the space between the pull and the decision. That gap, over time, is where your life actually gets built, not in the absence of the pull, in what you do with it. And here is what nobody tells you. Learning to feel safe with stability is itself a skill. It is not something that just happens when you find the right person. It is something you build by repeatedly choosing the thing that feels a little unfamiliar, staying with the mild discomfort of something consistent, and letting your nervous system slowly learn a new equation. It takes time. It takes repetition. It takes more patience than anyone warned you it would. But it is learnable. It is not locked. The brain that formed those grooves can form new ones. That is the same plasticity that wired you in the first place. You were not broken when you kept choosing people who were wrong for you. You were running a program that made complete sense given what you learned. The question was never what is wrong with you. The question was, what did you learn, and is it still true? The answer is, you learned it. It is not you. And that is the difference between a life sentence and a starting point. When did you first recognize this pattern in yourself? The pull towards someone who felt exciting, in a way that also felt dangerous. Drop it in the comments. I want to know what that moment looked like for you. If this is the kind of content that makes you see yourself more clearly, subscribe. We go deeper every week on Mind Beneath.